Hello, my sunshine, and welcome to a new episode of the Hot Girl Morning podcast. I am so excited to have you here. In today's episode, we will be talking about how to figure out when to push yourself versus when to be kind with yourself. And we will also kind of talk about hustle culture versus slow living / figuring out how to work with yourself rather than against yourself, working with your cycle, and also understanding that the way this world looks like is very much with a patriarchal view, and it is made from men for men, and it's important to understand how to find your position in it, because it is so hard once you just try to fit in and do work in the system that they created for us, but our body works really differently. So this is our topic for today, and it actually came from one of you. We have this beautiful WhatsApp group going on. It's the Supportive Bestie group, and with that group, we also have a monthly masterclass every first Thursday of the month, and it is for free. So if you want to join there as well, you're very, very welcome to. You can either message me on Instagram to get the link to join, or you will also find something down below in the show notes. If you don't know, my name is Greta. I'm an accountability and empowerment coach, and on this podcast, we talk about all things personal growth, mindfulness, self-love, manifesting your dreams, and becoming the best version of yourself. So if any of these topics sound interesting to you, make sure to follow this podcast, rate it 5 stars if you really enjoyed, or maybe send it to a friend who might need to hear this today. And we will be starting today's episode with our tradition. You already know the drill. I have this beautiful book in my hand, which is called Living with Joy, Keys to Personal Power and Spiritual Transformation from Sanaya Roman. And I'm going to open up a random page and give you a sign from the universe. Well, we don't have a sign from the universe. This is one of the only pages that didn't have anything on there. So no affirmations and no quote, but I was just opening up the next page. I hope that's okay, but because it's still, oopsie daisy, it's still the same chapter. So this chapter is about self-respect, self-esteem, and self-worth. And there's a play sheet, so basically an exercise that you can do with 4 different steps. Think of a pattern you seem to experience with people over and over. Get quiet, relax, and go within. Ask your deeper, wiser self to show you what you're learning from this. How is it teaching you to respect and love yourself more? What soul qualities are you developing from this situation? For instance, you may be developing the quality of compassion, honesty, speaking your deepest truth, peace, self-love, humility, harmlessness, taking responsibility for your actions, and so on. Would you be willing to learn these same lessons and to develop these qualities through growing with joy instead of repeating this pattern over and over? If so, make this your intention. Affirm that you are ready to release this pattern as a way to grow and open to new, more joyful ways to evolve. Oh, beautiful. Nice. I just love this book. I love whatever this book gives me. It is sometimes so hard to figure out if you're supposed to push yourself right now or if you're supposed to be kind with yourself. Because on one side, you go on YouTube and you look for a motivational talk and you see a bodybuilder, soldier type of man screaming at you that you need to show discipline and you need to go above and beyond and don't miss one day when you're working on your habits and when you're working on yourself. And on the other side, you have slow living content creators telling you, just be kind with yourself. Take a deep breath. You got this. If you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. And the truth is, you have to find your balance, because either you get into this trap of always pushing yourself and really fighting against yourself, or you get into this way of living where you just always, when I don't feel like it, I will never do it. I just don't need. And I get it. I feel like sometimes I am both of these voices combined. But it can be so hard, especially we as women, especially also the type of women who are interested in working on themselves and becoming a better version of yourself, because this self-improvement is very much based on the way men work. And if you have ever looked into a self-improvement book, what you're going to see in there is a very, very successful CEO speaking of, this is how I became successful. And I woke up every morning at 5 a.m., did my 1 hour gym session and then 1 hour meditation. And then I went to my multi-million-dollar company and I grew it to billions and billions more. And what you don't consider in these scenarios is that there was a wife at home who took care of the kids, who did like all the background, like all the mental load. And it is important to recognize that it is not about copy pasting someone else's routine, but it's about you figuring out what works for you. So what we're trying to do with this episode is for you to get to know yourself better and to understand, okay, when is it okay for me to push myself? And when is it okay for me to just don't do it and to relax and to find a different way to do this? Okay, I also want to talk in this episode a little bit about our cycle that we go through as women. And I want to make it clear, I'm not a doctor. If you have any concerns, anything is going on, please talk to a doctor and don't talk to me about it. But I just want to explain to you a little bit more the biology to make you realize, okay, this is why our body, like this is why we work the way we work, because it can feel so frustrating seeing how other people, and mainly men, are not struggling at all with like pushing through and discipline and all these things, while you seem to have these phases where you are so like in such a bad mood or really easily irritated or so sad, or where like all the negative beliefs are really taking over, and it feels so exhausting being super disciplined, doing the same freaking routine every single day, because it is so exhausting. And with this episode, I want you to understand your body better and to figure out what works for you. This is not I'm not saying anything about men need to be disciplined and women are just flowy, intent. Like, no, this is about you finding your own balance. That's basically it. So let's talk first a little bit about biology, because I know that I have discovered that a lot of women and in general people do not know enough about the biology of what is happening internally within us. And I think sometimes school doesn't teach us well enough. So here I am. I'm not a doctor and not a teacher and not a biologist, but here's a short breakdown. So basically, the way our female cycle works is that we have 4 different phases that we are going through. We have the menstruation, we have the follicular phase, the ovulation, and the luteal phase. So basically, you can also remind yourself, just as an easier way to remember what is you have the winter phase, spring, summer, and fall. And basically how that works is during the menstruation, obviously you have your period. This is where you are actively bleeding and losing blood and often going through a whole lot of pain, because this is what we have to go through. And then we have to act like nothing is happening while it is really hurting internally. What a life we live in. But basically, as I said, the first phase is the menstruation. And this is where you tend to sometimes feel a lot of pain, maybe also not feel your best mentally. It really also depends. Like, women are very different. Some people like really feel the fluctuation of the energy. Some women really don't. But the tendency is there that this is also the time where you have lower energy. You need to have like more time for yourself and more silence. And this is a really great time for you to reflect, to plan new projects, gather ideas, and be more in this winter cozy type of energy. Then the next phase that you're going in, this is where your hormones are starting to rise, and this is the follicular phase, aka spring phase, aka spring is my favorite season in general. And follicular phase is also a nice phase because this is where your energy is rising and you have now this energy to do the projects that you have been thinking about and the things that you have been planning, and you're really able like to get it done, and you're feeling really excited because things are falling into place. And then the next phase comes. It's the summer phase. It's ovulation. And this is the perfect time for you to do all social stuff. Like go to events. This is also where you look the best. There have been actually studies done where they compared pictures of women during, I think, their luteal phase or menstruation versus their ovulation. And people had to vote which one is more attractive. And by a lot, people in their ovulation seem to be more attractive versus the same person during menstruation or a luteal phase, because honestly your body wants to reproduce, and this is just what happens. So you look extra attractive, and maybe you're also craving the attention of a man or a woman or non-binary or whoever you're interested in. And then after this phase, you're getting into the luteal phase. The luteal phase, this is where your hormones drop again. And especially by the end of the luteal phase, this is where a lot of women, aka me included, also experience PMS, aka you're having mood swings, you don't feel your best. This is where often all the limiting beliefs really rise up, and you're really questioning your sanity, you're questioning what you're doing, and it is really hard to get the things done. And then again, the menstruation happens. And again, this is also mood-wise often time where you do not feel absolutely your best. Again, I have been generalizing over and over here, but it is about you recognizing yourself and understanding your cycle better. If this is something that you need help with, I actually have a Excel sheet that I could send you. I have done this for I think 4 months straight. Of every single evening I took 5 minutes to look at this Excel sheet, to write in there in which phase I'm in from my cycle, what is the energy that I had over the day, what is the mood. And basically what I did through the time is I was able to see patterns, and I really learned to understand my body and to understand myself so much better, because it was like always the same time, always around the luteal phase. This is where all my limiting beliefs were coming up, and I was questioning myself and all these negative self-talks and all these things. And it was so beautiful after a couple of months to recognize, okay, this is what happens in my body. This is not something that I can control, but by me understanding my body and understanding, okay, this is something that happens due to my hormonal changes, I get to also understand, okay, if I'm questioning what I'm doing during the luteal phase and the first days on my menstruation, this is not where I should make these types of decisions, because this is where I am not in the right mind for these types of decisions. So I am not going to make big decisions about my business and what I'm doing during this time, because this is the time where I'm literally going to question myself. And through understanding that, it's also easier to not let it be that big of a deal or to read that much into it, because this is just something that happens to your body. And one thing I also want to mention is going through this cycle is something beautiful. Like sometimes the way our world looks like, it always feels like this is what we should have, like just this 24-hour cycle, being always disciplined. But it's important that we have this flowy energy that is like, the world needs this type of energy as well. So now, how do I know when I need to push myself and when I need to be more kind with myself? For me, it is really simple, because I know now my cycle, I know how I work and what is going on internally, aka I am pushing myself around the follicular phase and around the ovulation phase, because I know that I have the energy to do so. And this is really where I go out of my comfort zone. If I don't feel like going to the gym, I might still go to the gym, or I maybe do it in a little bit of a different way. But when I, for example, get closer to my luteal phase, or I'm during my menstruation, I understand when in the morning I feel super exhausted and super tired, that forcing myself to get out of bed earlier is not really working for me, because then I'm feeling just groggy and tired for the whole entire day. And this is something that I am applying not only in my work life with how I set up events and how I set up calls and how I do anything that I do, in my work life, but this is something that I also recognize when I take a look at the habits that I'm creating. I have talked to you a lot about morning routines versus morning rituals before, but this is also the time where I don't have the same morning routine every single day. I adapt this to the different cycle phases that I'm in. AKA, when I am on my period, I'm less likely to go to the gym, but I'm really enjoying to have like a slow morning with doing some yoga. And again, like this just all varies based on where I am in my cycle. I know that it also sometimes is helpful in the beginning to have like a really structured routine, but this is something that I have discovered for myself, where it's really important of me. Okay, I'm listening to myself and listening within. And in general, this is also something that I want to remind you, instead of just being in that moment of, oh, I need to push myself right now, or oh, I need to be kind with myself, is first take a moment for yourself. Take a moment where you take a deep breath and where you really try to look internal of like, okay, what is my body right now trying to tell me? Have I been listening to my body? Is it that I actually need to like get that exercise, and do I need to move my body? Or is it that I need to rest right now and I need to create a time of silence? Again, I recognize not in every scenario you can always choose what you want to do. You cannot always choose that you do the things that you don't want to do, but by understanding your body, you will also understand better how you're reacting to things, and you can make it a priority to, for example, if you have to push yourself, even though you're right now on your period and you don't feel good and you don't want to do it, that afterwards you're going to create a really slow evening ritual, self-care ritual for yourself. The number one learning that I want you to take away from this episode is about you recognizing and getting to know yourself and your body. And instead of trying to fit into this very masculine system and patriarchal system, it's about you figuring out, okay, how does my body work? What do I need? And I know that it can be really challenging, especially us people growing up in a world that really teaches you to be really productive and to hustle more and work more and getting that self-worth from the work that you're doing, especially the first times when you're trying to be more kind with yourself and you're not doing it, it can feel very uncomfortable. It can be feeling like very like not rest at all because you're just blaming yourself for not going there. And this is something that is also very normal, that in the beginning, taking breaks, resting can feel very uncomfortable because you're not used to that. So what you need to do is you need to focus more on yourself. Stop comparing yourself to all the books, to everyone else, but figure out, okay, what do you want? And understand that you are the priority in your life. And what you want to do is to create a life that you actually love. So you can stop fighting against yourself, trying to fit in all these boxes, but really try to get to know yourself and figure out what works for you and what do you want to do. If you are enjoying this podcast, I have been doing this for 3.5 years and I have never gained €1, $1 from Spotify, nothing. I have done no sponsorship at all in these 3.5 years. The only thing that I have done is I have told you about what I have to offer. If you really enjoy what I'm doing and you have the urge to give away, I have a donation link down below if you just have the feeling of like, okay, this is really something that helped me in my life and I would like to say thank you. This would be something that I would highly, highly appreciate. And in general, if you need any help with going for your dreams, I have a one-on-one coaching that I'm offering you. I would love to tell you more about it because it is my passion. It is my dream to help you go for your dreams. And I want to help you to look at life in a different way and really do the identity work while we're taking the steps together. You will find all the links down below. I would love to see you also on my Instagram at greta.webhofer, greta.webhofer. But thank you so much for being here. If you have any more questions, please let me know down in the comments or again, Instagram or wherever you want to find me. But thank you so much for being here. I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.